Welcome everyone, it's the Crypto Lark and I'm super excited to have on today Long from Tomochain. Long, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me here.
Absolute pleasure. Now, Tomochain is a project that I have been interested in for some time. Got involved in the ICO. I was very lucky for that, and I've been following it actively for quite a while now. But for anybody who doesn't know what you're doing, can you give us the short version? What is Tomochain?
Tomochain is a public blockchain. And what we do is we are focusing on security, stability, and performance as well. Tomochain can do up to 1,000 transactions per second, with the block time is very fast, 2 seconds. And we also adopting EVM. So that's most of the smart contracts that written for Ethereum can be ported to Tomochain very easily.
Nice.
And of course, like some of the special feature and innovation we have. For example, we are using POSV consensus, which based on game theoretic modeling and also kind of like security feature like randomization and double confirmation to make sure that the consensus is solid, and it is powering the fast Tomochain network.
So those secondary things that you mentioned, so obviously 1,000 transactions per second, that's amazing. But the question, of course, has to be is what are you sacrificing to get 1,000 transactions per second? Is there some degree of centralization going on? This is always a concern of people in the crypto community.
We have this discussion in our Telegram chat quite often, right? So some of the things our community member point out is that Bitcoin have only like 3 big miner pool who can create block. Meanwhile, Tomochain actually have 150 masternode who take turns to create new block and validate the block. So I think when you talk about decentralization, there are just a lot of different opinions, and also there is a degree of decentralization because you are talking about who is writing code, who is running node that have like secure and maintain the network, but also like the ecosystem, who is building the app, have like building the ecosystem on top of the chain. So there's like multiple side to the decentralization debate. So I think for now, for me, for Tomochain team, we really want to make a public blockchain accessible to the mainstream application and mainstream user. And that's the goal we are focusing on. Certainly, right now, with our mainnet already launched, and the community running the Tomochain network is from all over the world, right? We have people from US, from Canada, from Africa, from China running the node. So I think Tomochain is definitely very decentralized at the moment.
Now, those 150 masternodes, how are they chosen, or how were they originally chosen? Was it the first 150 people to say, I want to be a masternode, or was there some kind of process?
It is automatically built in the consensus, which is the POSV. So we have the rule of the game, right? So anyone who have 50,000 Tomo can initiate a masternode candidate via the smart contract. And then when they become a candidate, right, as a token holder, can vote for them. And at the end of every epoch, which roughly like 35 minutes right now, the system choose the top 150 masternode candidate to become block producer and block validator in the next epoch. So it is done automatically, and it's the built-in feature of the system. There is no one control the process. So you can choose to be anonymous masternode as well, and no one can actually like permit you to be a masternode or not. And that's, I think, that's a feature that makes Tomochain permissionless and decentralized.
So essentially, the 150 masternodes, they get voted in, and so you can also be voted out if people don't support you, you can lose your position as a masternode. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the system is very kind of like mathematical, right? We have the count of the vote from top to bottom, and you need to be like in the top 150, otherwise you out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something kind of like also very competitive in terms of being a masternode, in the sense that if you run a full node, right, you have to pay the infrastructure fee.
Of course.
Either like running it in a data center or running it on the cloud. But if you don't belong to the top 150, you don't have the block reward.
That's right. And now, in terms of who is running the masternodes, I've seen that a few different crypto community players are running masternodes. I think CoinGecko and maybe, was it COINBASE? Are they running a masternode as well?
I think they are, right? So CoinGecko is one of the top 10 masternode on Tomochain right now. We have a bunch of other institutional investors running nodes, such as Hyperchain is running Hyperblock Pro node right now, Connect Capital, and also some other d.app company like Chip Protocol or Big Bomb or Midat as running nodes as well.
Very, very cool. What about the governance? So this is something that we talk about a lot when it comes to blockchain projects. So how are you dealing with governance in Tomochain? Is it the masternodes only that are going to decide governance, or is it one Tomo, one vote?
There are actually also like a few ways to look at the governance issue, right? One way to look at the governance issue is governance by forking, which is adopted by Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. So essentially, right, the masternode can choose to run with whatever version of the client they like. And for example, like currently, the core client, the default client is written by Tomochain core team. But if we publish a new version, which have a certain feature that is opposed by the community, right? The masternode can choose not to run that version. And then the network can fork to a different faction. And I think that happened with, for example, like Ethereum and Ethereum Classics, and Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. And currently, what we have in Tomochain is a similar version. Tomochain network is run by a distinct set of 150 masternodes, and they can choose which version of the client they are running. And we don't, like the company itself, the core team itself doesn't have the control of what the community want to run. So that's kind of like the theoretical basic for the governance by forking, right? And of course, we are at the initial state right now, and I think most of the community have a choice in what the client Tomochain team is producing. And when we have a new update, right, most of the community read the GitHub comment and they follow the client. So I think for us, it's a quite efficient process right now compared to what Ethereum and Bitcoin is having. Even though, right, the governance process is actually very similar.
It's interesting. I think governance in cryptocurrencies is this really early stage idea, and where we will go with it is a whole different conversation. We could talk for hours about community governance on that, but we don't have hours today, so I actually want to move on to the topic of gaming. Now, this has actually been a big focus of a lot of blockchains. Even blockchains that had come out and said we're going to do something different are now saying, well, we're going to do gaming. Now, this is a focus of Tomochain as well, focusing on gaming. Obviously, we see Tron focusing on gaming and Neo focusing on gaming as well, but why gaming? Why do you think gaming is such a big use case for blockchain technology?
I think gaming is easy to get into, right? And there are some element of gaming, especially involve gambling and financial game, that is particularly attractive to blockchain. And we also seeing a game like Decentraland, which is like an open world in which the user can actually own the asset over the long term. I think open world game is also particularly suited to blockchain. And hopefully we can develop something on Tomochain in the future.
I think gambling is this really important thing, and obviously it was one of the early use cases of Bitcoin, but moving forward, I think it'll be a big use case for a lot of cryptocurrencies because we see that there are geographic gambling restrictions all over the world, but if you have cryptocurrencies, your ability to gamble, well, you can do it anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's like there are like 100 of jurisdictions in the world, right? And they have different view about gambling or not is allowed, right? And I think it's opposed to what the blockchain kind of like proposition is. We want to be a global community that's sharing the same kind of like infrastructure and the same way of doing things. So I think it's very interesting to see how gambling is developing over the blockchain kind of like blockchain community and a global blockchain industry, and how different jurisdiction and government is seeing that and what they are doing about that.
Yeah, it's, you know, with gambling, it's funny because I've never been a gambler. Well, except for investing in Bitcoin, that feels kind of like gambling sometimes. No, not really, it's a bit different. But I've never liked going to casinos and all these things, and you see that governments don't like their citizens going to casinos if they can't capture that revenue. Are you worried that if we see a lot of, for example, gambling dApps running on top of Tomo, do you think there could ever be some kind of government backlash saying, oh, we don't like Tomochain because there's all these gambling dApps running on it?
So, like comparing to Ethereum, Tomochain is definitely better suited for game. Right, because the block time is just so faster, and the fee is lower. But more importantly, the block time is faster because in game, right, you want to react fast. You want to receive what the system giving back fast, so you can like have you can change the behavior and enjoy the game, and that is not going to happen if the one block time is 20 seconds. But that's why we're seeing, a lot of games running on EOS or Tron right now, and hopefully, Tomochain in the future. So I think gaming is definitely going to be a big part of Tomochain. I'm not particularly worried. I don't know,
I'm not particularly worried either. They can't really stop it,
right?
That's it.
Yeah. But yeah, we just writing the client software, right? The network is run by the global community, right? So
that's right.
Even like that's something about the public blockchain is that even if the Tomochain team doesn't run any node right now. Because of some reason, political reason, legal reason, since the network can still running forward is a long term in the future. So
that's right. Somebody else will say, "I'll run a node. I'm waiting. I'll run a node," and that's the beautiful part.
But I think there is something maybe people who gamble, right? People who play game should keep in mind that public blockchain is very transparent, right? And the way Tomochain is designed, which is similar to Ethereum is designed, it is even more transparent than the Bitcoin and some other blockchain, some other like Monero or Zcash. So if you decide to gamble or do certain thing, you should be aware that the transaction is very transparent. And be aware of the local jurisdiction you are in.
Well, one thing that has been a very big topic recently is most blockchains working on some kind of privacy implementation. We saw, for example, Ethereum's working with ZK snarks, Litecoin's talking about some sort of Mimblewimble implementation. Will we see ZK snarks or ring signatures or something like this coming to Tomochain in the future?
Yes, I think that's one of the big area of research we're focusing on right now. 2019 for us is really about trying to build, to make Tomochain suitable to be capitalized for the area of open finance. So we're really focusing on a lot of financial application for 2019. In terms of long-term research, of course, privacy is one of the big issues. And the next big issue is scalability, further scalability of the system.
Well, you already have good scalability, and obviously you're working on more scalability in the future because you are going to be implementing sharding at some point in 2019. That's on the roadmap anyway. Do you think that you will successfully implement sharding in 2019?
I want to be pragmatic about kind of like what scalability solution will be implemented in Tomochain, because what we are having is quite good already, and the actual application and development haven't been able to fully take advantage of the scalability capacity of the network right now. So that gives us time to do more research, because some of the, as a public blockchain already implemented sharding. They launched the mainnet sharding, but the performance in terms of the block time is actually not good. So it's better to take time to do something that fit with our overall plan for the Tomochain, instead of like setting a fixed timeline and we already have the mainnet and trying to build ecosystem around it first.
Good tech takes time. It's better to say we're working on it, it'll come when it comes, versus Q1 2019 and then Q2 comes and it's not there and everybody goes, where's sharding? What happened? And that's not good.
and the funny thing is that it's a very underlying infrastructure, right? If you're a user, you are not going to notice what is the underlying sharding or not, right? You just notice that what is the block time, what is the transaction fee, right? And currently, we have very short block time, 2 to 3 seconds. And so basically, when you send a transaction to a smart contract or to your friend, it takes like, very, very short amount of time. You don't even notice it. It's about similar experience to sending money via PayPal or as a mainstream application.
Just a couple of seconds.
And the fee is even much cheaper. Yeah.
So in terms of fees, are we talking less than 1 US cent?
Much less than that, actually, right? So one Tomo is now, I think, 50 cents, right? And with one Tomo, you can send like 200,000 transactions.
Wow, that's a lot of transactions.
If you are kind of like a regular normal user who play game, send money to friends, you never have to be worried about fee with the Tomochain.
In terms of attracting developers, so let's say that you're talking to somebody who works with Ethereum. What is your pitch to them? How do you convince them to come and build on Tomo instead of staying on Ethereum?
I actually have my own view, right? I don't actually do a lot of persuading, right? Because I think if you are building an app for end consumer, right? Transaction speed and transaction fee is a matter of life or death for your app. If you want to attract like 100,000 users, they're not going to wait 20 seconds for you to process a transaction, right? So I think at some point, developer, right, and app entrepreneur, they're going to gravitate to the most performing. Of course, you have to also be secure and stable network.
And now, so that's Ethereum. Obviously, we all know about the problems that Ethereum has in terms of scalability, etc. at the moment. What about someone like EOS? Because EOS, I think at the moment they have more than 1,000 transactions per second, quite a few more potential anyway. So how do you go and then talk to an EOS developer and say, hey, build on Tomo, not on EOS?
I think firstly, right, EOS is having a totally different blockchain and programming language. EOS is using C++, while Tomochain and Ethereum is using Solidity. So when a developer, right, they get used to a certain language, they're going to focus on that language because it's more efficient for them. Secondly, right, they have to be tuned. That helps the developer to write application faster. So I think Tomochain is strategic in that regard because developer can use tools from Ethereum like Shuffle and MetaMask to write a lot of applications. I think EOS is doing a great job so far with attracting a lot of new applications. But we need to see, right, what is would be more attractive to the majority of developers in the future. But what I am seeing right now when I talk with some of the big kind of like more popular application developer is that they want to actually like become like chain agnostic. They want to build a game, right, and they want to develop it to multiple chain. To take advantage of all the other chain communities. So I think it's a fair point for game developer as well. So we will see what is going to happen. Yeah.
But of course, we have a big focus of Tomo being on interoperability. And I think that's so important moving forward for any blockchain to be interoperable, to have that focus of we can talk to other blockchains. So that's something that's on the roadmap for 2019, interchain operability. What chains are your top focus? I mean, of course, Ethereum, but are you looking at Neo as well? I know that Neo was an investor in Tomochain, so are you looking at interoperability with Neo or with EOS maybe?
I think so. We have a little bit a slight kind of like rethinking in terms of interchain issue, and there is actually a new concept called, it's not new, but people are talking more about it's composability, right? That's the idea. If a different protocol on top of one blockchain can compose together to make new things, right? So for example, you can have you have a MakerDAI that's doing stablecoin on Ethereum, and you have Compound who doing like paying interest for different ERC20 token and Ethereum on top of Ethereum, and and Algo is doing prediction market on Ethereum. I think composability is the idea is that a lot of protocol on top of certain blockchain interact with each other and create a sum of value that is bigger than just any one application alone, right? So I'm paying attention to that concept recently, and I think it makes a lot of sense to focus on Tomochain and building a lot of tool and a lot of complementary application on top of Tomochain first, instead of focusing on connecting with other chain, because right there as a team is doing connecting different chain right now. Because Binance is one example, right? If you want to exchange from Tomo to Neo or to Ether, you can just go to Binance and buy and sell, right? And even you can do it in wallet with the Kyber Swap, Kyber network, right, and some other protocol. So I think this will take a little bit more consideration for us, but right now the focus for Tomochain is on Tomo X, and maybe a dozen financial app and a
Mm-hmm.
protocol on top of Tomochain.
And so Tomo X, that's going to be a decentralized exchanging service operating on top of Tomo?
Tomochain is a decentralized exchange protocol. It's not an exchange yet, right? It's basically
It's more like
it's a way.
0x on
Yes,
Ethereum.
yes.
Okay.
If you understand, if you know about 0x, it's fairly easy to understand what Tomochain is. Some new innovation we have is that because we writing the client software, we actually putting the matching engine into the client. Make it actually very fast, and all of the relayer on top of Tomochain can share the matching engine inside the client. So basically, instead of doing it in the smart contract layer like 0x,
Mm-hmm.
we have the master node doing the hard work of matching and matching engine and supporting the whole exchange on top of Tomochain.
And now we, of course, will see ICOs coming on Tomochain. Now there are some dApps currently running on Tomo. I know that I was looking, so Terra stablecoin. That's is that currently running on
Terra,
Tomo, or are they going to be running
Terra.
soon on Tomo?
So we keep in touch with Terra, right? We signed the MOU quite a few months ago, and I think they going to build a specific version on Tomochain for Terra. But currently, I think they are still focusing on Korea,
Mm-hmm.
right now, and building their first version on Ethereum.
Got you, got you. But we will see ICOs coming soon. I mean, if people can build in Solidity, anyone who can launch an ICO basically on Ethereum can do it on Tomochain and then have their token exist there, have their dApp exist there once it goes through. The only challenge, I think, right now is that the ICO market has kind of stopped largely for the moment. So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe not so many ICOs coming. Do you know if there are any ICOs planned for Tomochain at the moment?
I think the first ICO on Tomochain is from a traveling company called COINBASE. Right? They doing an ICO for a chip protocol, which is like an traveling identity
Mm-hmm.
service. They plan to do it in March, and so that's the first one we have. And I think the market was quite slow in the last few months, right? And of course, the ICO market was terrible last year. We have some kind of like positive side from for example, the torrent, the BitTorrent
Mm-hmm.
ICO on Binance. So hopefully we have a better year in 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, there are teams out there. They are still doing what they're doing. They're just not raising the money right now, which means they're not launching their ICOs. The developers are there, they're working, and the ideas are being made, but they need the money to bring them to life. That might happen at a later time. Long, very, very interesting. Thanks so much for giving us the insight on what Tomochain is doing right now. For anybody who wants more information about it, of course, there'll be a link down below. Long, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having the conversation. It's lovely to talk with you.
Thank you.